Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy Road Dogg here with the main man, the big man on top of the pretty decent sized hill, Mr. Karl Bryan. How are you, Shoots?
Yo, Road Dogg, doing good, big Shoots. What's happening, bud? What's happening?
I am getting ready for yet another week, and it's going to be a really beauty of a week. I just have a feeling. So, what about you? You got a lot of stuff lined up? What's going on with the big Shoots this week?
I do, bud. In fact, as we do this is a Monday, and yes, I actually spent the weekend outlining some interesting opportunities and whatnot, and roadmap for my mentor. I got a big call coming up on Wednesday where I'm going to outline some stuff, and Road Dogg. So I'm in strategic mode. That's what I'm in, bud. But feeling good, ready to rock.
There you go. Listen, I'm going to just smoothly roll right into the first question because middle name for me is Smooth, right? Like that is my middle name.
You're very smooth, Road Dogg.
Yeah, this is it, bud. This is it. So, all right. Before I get into this, I know that you and Adrian are partners inside of LPW, but do you have your succession plan all figured out? Like, what's happening? Like here's the red hot tip. Karl got vaccinated yesterday, and I know that about 70% of you are 100% on board. And maybe about 20% of you are on the fence, and then there's me. So, anyways, that being said, listen, when you grow a third leg, do I get to take over your part? Like, should we put this to a vote? By the way, I think Adrian will hate me as a business partner, just for the record.
I love you, Road Dogg.
But anyways,
everybody loves you.
With that in mind, not after that speech. So you did get the vax. It's weird because you're unlike everybody else. I didn't see the selfie on Facebook. What is your take on it? And you and I obviously talked about this, and we actually sat down last week with a buddy, a neighbor of yours, who's also a doctor. But I'm sure that helped sort of your thinking here. But can you kind of walk us through? Because I know that this is a hot topic right now. Like, what's your take, and what were your second thoughts? Because I know you have some.
Kind of. There's here it is. This is what I take. And business coaching, guys, you're sitting there listening, and like, does this pertain to it? Is it relevant? I don't know. Maybe it is, but I think it's a conversation you're probably going to be having with your clients. We're all living through this pandemic, right? So it's about all anybody feels like every conversation seems to start here. Look, here's my take on it. Right, wrong, and different. I don't like Road Dogg. He ain't getting vaccinated for nothing, right? Am I? I kind of toss back and forth, but here's what I think, right? Back in World War II, we sent off our kids and, young men off to war to fight. And you could imagine it wasn't totally dissimilar. It was like, should we, shouldn't we, my gosh. And what do the boys do? They left and they went to war. It just was what it was. Like, that's the sacrifice they put forward. And I do feel like there are parallels, and some people are going to hear that and disagree vehemently. And I am totally cool with that. But everybody wants to just get on with our bloody lives. And the vaccination, I'm a healthy dude. I'm not worried. I could get the thing. I could not get the thing. I'm a healthy guy. So that's the way I took it. And I felt like this is my part, and I did it. And there you go, Shoots. And I think, I don't know. I think that's something people could think about. And again, disagree vehemently, and I'm totally cool with that. But I'm on board with the vaccination, and I got it. And I also think that there's a body of work out there, because again, just to go and be the first in line, that's not something I would have entertained or been excited about. But this thing's been around for, months as we record. It has had very positive effects in Europe and whatnot. So that's it, Road Dog. That's my answer, bud. So I'm good with it. I'm alive. I feel fine, by the way, and whatever.
You're feeling good. Shoots that you and Mikey, you guys both, good for you guys. Super proud.
All right.
Anyways,
let's do business coaching.
All right. I am going to get hate mail. Hate mail directed to Adrian at noresults-nop.com. Thank you, everybody. Hey, listen. Now, let's get back to business. There's a song about that. Anyways, how do I make 2021 my best year of coaching ever? We just talked about 2021, your huge sacrifice that you did yesterday. But on a serious business note, how does somebody make 2021 their best year of coaching yet? Obviously unreal in terms of, and really dependent upon where you are too, right? Like some people are close, some people aren't. Why don't you share your thoughts? And this is very broad, Karl, so I don't even know where you're going to go with it, but you just have some basic pointers. That'd be great.
Make 2021 best year ever. Oh, well, I'll tell you this: 4 times as many LLCs and corporations were formed in North America last year than the previous recorded record year. So really, I got to be honest. If you're a business coach and you're listening to this, it should be easier than it's ever been. But you got to be willing to do the work, right? It's very straightforward, but it's not easy. Never is. It's well into 2021 as I record this. So maybe let's create a roadmap for your next quarter as opposed to 2021, right? So, and by the way, I just gave you a wealth hack. Okay. So most people do New Year's resolutions. How often? Once a year. Start doing the equivalent of that 4 times a year rather than once, and you immediately make more money, experience more success, get further, right? There's a reason why public companies do quarterly earnings reports and not annual, right? So you should be doing the same. We talked about this actually, I think maybe even on the last 2 podcasts, definitely the last one, but mental model inversion, I would immediately invert the problem if that was my goal. Write down the ways that 2021 would totally suck ass. Write those down, and it might be significantly more motivational, and it'll provide you the pitfalls to avoid, right? Like Warren Buffett, what I said last week, I'll say it again, very powerful. He wants to know where he's going to go to die so that he never goes there, right? Again, some people think that's an off-the-cuff kind of joke. He's deadly serious. That's him inverting the problem. If he knew that he was going to die of cancer or heart disease, he would find out how to avoid cancer and heart disease. Very straightforward. So where would your business go to die in 2021, right? Not going to events, not connecting with 3 business owners every day, not picking up the phone every day and providing value before getting paid, not grow your social media presence, not grow a list of people, collecting business cards and then doing nothing with them. We all know that guy, and you probably experienced it personally. If you do build a list and collect a list of, email addresses, phone numbers, contact information, like local business owners, collecting them, and then what? Not communicating with them, not creating a drip campaign, not doing something educational, right? Not hiring someone to do lead generation on behalf of you. When you get filled up, let's say you do get to the point where you get your 15 clients and you're cooking. Okay, well, not hiring a coach that'll allow you to grow. Because what happens is coaches go, they have success, they get to their 15th client, stop doing lead generation, lose 5 of the 10 clients and go from 15 to 10. And by the time they get their act together to start generating leads and whatnot, now they're down to 8 and their incomes basically halved, and they're scramble trying to, generate a bunch of leads. You gotta, it's consistency, right? So hiring a coach that's going to help you do that, not acquiring new skills. I just said something very important: acquire new skills. The truth is you probably won't do any of this because you allow yourself to use the world's most dangerous word, and that's should, right? 90% of New Year's resolutions are broken within 2 weeks, right? 14 days. Why? Look, trauma moves people. And when you spend all your time trying to avoid pain and avoid trauma rather than embracing it, guess what? Athletes embrace pain, right? Or they don't survive, let alone thrive, right? Road Dog, if you stop pushing weight when it got hard, you'd have 25 pounds of less muscle on your body, right? And you and your gym buddies would be the same, right? All of them. Like when I played hockey, if I stopped when it hurt, like you think I would have played for Team Canada or made different elite teams and that sort of thing? Not a chance, right? You need a massive push. And instead of living in procrastination, anxiety, stress, avoidance, you need something or someone to push you, right? So like, number one, find and embrace a force that'll get you to stop shitting all over yourself. I think it's Tony Robbins that made that famous, right? Like you shit all over yourself. You gotta, the word should, take it. What I do is I put stuff on a post. If I read something and I need to be reminded, I write it on a Post-it note and I put it on the side of my computer, right? So as I sit here, I'm actually looking, around my computer, I can see Post-it notes all around it, right? So basically take the word should and do like a Ghostbusters, line through the middle of it, but stop shitting all over yourself. But maybe it's stress. Maybe it's being broke, right? You got to embrace that. Maybe it's, lead generation you've been hiding from. Maybe it's the event that you should be running at the local chamber, but you've been avoiding it. Maybe it's, your bank balance, your lack thereof, your high mortgage, where you're not making double principal payments and you should be, right? And subsequently, by not making double principal payments, you're costing yourself and your retirement hundreds of thousands of dollars that you could retire on with your wife and your family and, pay for your kids' schooling. Like, just embrace loss. Like, maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a past marriage, a past lover, a business, a major client, right? Maybe it's a staff member that walked out the door that you look back and go, gosh, like they've gone on to become an entrepreneur right beside you and crushed it. If you would have kept them on board and given them, 10% of the company, 25% of the company, had them buy into it, how could your existence have been different, right? Like, embrace that pain, right? The money, the time. Sometimes it's a birthday. You always notice people make big adjustments when they have a birthday with a 5 or a 0, right? Like 43 doesn't have nearly the impact of 45, and 48 doesn't have nearly the impact of 50, right? So, and you all kind of follow that logic, right? Probably been there yourselves. Like, it's a lot of people due to like a poor school system, or maybe even it's a lack of positive influences in their life. They can only get motivated by a huge sense of loss. And the drug, like that sense of loss has like a drug-like effect that provides your body and mind like a drug and the opposite of adrenaline. Like, how you get dopamine as you go to your Facebook page and you see the like, the share, and all the comments, and you get a little bit of a pick-me-up, right? No doubt you realize that. Like social is addictive because of dopamine buzz that you get from the likes. Well, trauma does the same, but in an opposite way, right? So you can fix this, but it takes time and experiences for your body to build up new receptors, right? But it is a skill, and it is something you can work on. So like, number one is you got to find a force that's going to drive you to stop saying quote unquote should, right? And then number two I'd put down is like, what's going to push you? And I'll give you a little hint here. It's going to be a person, it'll be people, or a group of people, right? So always remember this wealth hack: your greatest successes will come through other people, right? So like Steve Jobs mentored Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett mentored Bill Gates, Christian Dior mentored Yves Saint Laurent, Oprah mentored Ellen, and Michael Jordan mentored Kobe Bryant, right? Again, not a coincidence that he became, the unbelievable, basketball champion that he was, the late great Kobe. So seek out mentors, get around people that are doing what it is that you're looking to do, right? Many of the top coaches in the world use our system, and we mentor them, right? Many started as, coaches exchanging time for money, and now they have teams of 10, 25, 50, 75 business coaches underneath them. When they started with me, they had 0, and now they've built out legitimate assets and earning income, while they sleep. I always caution saying it that way, but you know what I mean? Like they legitimately earning income when they're not working, right? And the weekends, hanging out with their kids, they're at the beach, and money is still flowing, right? So the bottom line is that if you're looking to elevate yourself, relationships will be a savior here of you being pushed, right? You can't hang out with different people or expose yourself to different groups and not get different results. And that's good and that's bad, right? But importantly, there is no change without change of routine. So Look, so your biggest needle moving routine is going to be social interactions, right? So just like think of your dreams, right? So you have dreams of a nighttime. They're all social interactions. You don't have a dream of like you in a book and you in a house and you in a bicycle and you in a necklace, right? You dream about you and other people interacting socially, including you with you, right? So you should seek out and spend time with people that are going to improve you, like hang out with people that inspire you, that make you laugh, that are going to push you, people who are living their best life, but not living their best life on Facebook and Instagram, right? But living their best life behind closed doors. And with a very small amount of prodding and questions, you could work that out in a real hurry, right? But again, people you love and admire, people that you want to be like. And here's an acid test of a relationship. If you're sitting there querying, which one should continue and which ones should I slow down and which ones should I kind of exit from, right? Like list all the relationships that you have. If you're not married, these would be, like people that you've dated. This would definitely be your spouse. Business partnerships, right? The hardest ship in the world to steer is a partnership. Joint venture relationship, friends. Maybe if you have a personal trainer, I would question whether that's the right personal trainer for you. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. If you have somebody that you might have a life coach, and you probably don't have a life coach, but you probably have somebody in your life that doubles as that person. Often it's a parent or somebody close to you. Well, question that relationship and whether or not it's serving you at the highest level, right? Or maybe it's the guru that you follow, right? I've often said that the real guru you should be following is normally like quiet, understated, and significantly less known. They're more interested in math, scoreboards, and projections than sprouting off on their, social media feed, right? And, talking about whatever, politics or what have you. And I know a lot of these, so-called heavyweights on social media behind the scenes, and they're just often not all they're cracked up to be. So, and some of them are, right? So you do your own homework, but don't just blindly go to your Facebook feed and say, holy cow, we got 300 likes and like, this is my guy. And wow, he's got a picture of a Lamborghini that he's leaning against, right? So I don't know, back to the point, I guess, like basically list all of your relationships. And now knowing what you know now, right? Here is the acid test. Knowing what you know now, would you start that relationship again? And if the answer is no, probably time to move on or maybe make some plans to move on. Like when you become an entrepreneur or business coach, you need a new circle. And if not, and you achieve any semblance of success, you're about to hear stuff like, you work too much, you're stressing yourself up, be careful. And then the famous 3-word line, work-life balance. Basically, it's a bunch of advice to try and protect you. And quite frankly, indirectly, and maybe it's accidentally stopping you from achieving your goals because they don't want you to leave their circle, right? Like business ownership is about risk taking at its absolute finest, right? Successful business owners, we don't sit around and speak to other successful business owners and talk about how careful they need to be and work-life balance, right? We talk about maybe work-life integration versus work-life balance, but, not work-life balance, because quite frankly, it does not exist for an entrepreneur. So best not pretend it does. At least that's my opinion. Maybe you have a different one and I'm totally fine with that. But I got to tell you, I don't know a successful entrepreneur that has work-life balance and would tell you that, right? And needle moving trend we've learned about recently is like, I might get to this in a second, but feeling good about waking up at 5 a.m. would be, again, another thing that like local, business owners are talking to one another about, right? And then why do you need to end other relationships? Because there's only so much room and so many hours in the day, right? Like this a needle moving. Think of I've often used like a fridge as a metaphor, right? So this is what I mean, like a movie, a needle moving trend. There's only so much time in a day. So if you have a fridge and it's full, you can't fit other food in. So in order to fit more in, you've got to take some out, right? So in order to be able to inject new and powerful relationship, sometimes you gotta create some space. You gotta create some room. Your brain's only got so much glucose, right? You can only so much time and energy. So you should be spending it wisely. So grab pen and paper and write down the people that you need to be moving on from. Warren Buffett, he asks this every year of himself. He says, what person or thing do I need to move on from? And believe me, he's using that fridge metaphor when he's looking. It's not that he wants to go and move on from people. It's that he feels like he needs to in order to grow, right? And maybe you're lucky when you do your list, there's going to be no one on it you need to move on from. And that's fantastic. And I high five you, but highly probable that's not the case. And there's some, old, what I may call dud relationships that are really costing you a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of positive forward momentum. Maybe you haven't realized it. I don't know. Write a list, and this is with no judgment and harshness, and do it to find out. And for the snowflakes not used to the world of success, it's not about judgment, right? It's about creating a roadmap towards your best future self, from where you are to where you want to go. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Remember that, right? It's not the smartest or the strongest that survive. It's the most adaptable to his or her environment that they find themselves in, right? Like the number of PhDs that I have met and worked with that are flat broke will blow your mind, right? When you go to the gym, Road Dogg, you and I have talked about this, the biggest guys with the biggest muscles, right? They look great at the beach when they take their shirt off, but a lot of the time they're dead broke, right? Their car's breaking down in the parking lot as they get into it. Whereas the guy on the treadmill, lean, fit, doing some weights, but not trying to bulk himself up and sticking, a needle in his butt, trying to, full of steroids. This is the guy, or gal, generally speaking, that's going to be closer to the richest. In fact, unrelated but related, the richest people in the world generally, and this is big time CEOs, proven being the operative word here, to get a lot done, have one trait almost universally, and they go to the gym 3 to 7 times a week. They also read an insane amount, but really importantly, big time CEOs that really move the needle, they go to the gym 3 to 7 times a week religiously, and closer to 7 than 3, by the way. And of course, reading, no doubt you guys understand the power of that. But, when those two are combined, I think they create a superpower. These are the types of people I think you should be getting around. The most adaptable win, and that is a wealth hack on steroids. So adapt your social circle, adapt the conversations. By doing that, you're going to be adapting and adjusting the conversations that you're having, both verbally and then with yourself, right? So ask yourself, what do you need? Who do I need to be spending time with? Invert the problem. What kind of people would suck the life out of you and not give you what you need? Who are the wrong kind of people for you to be spending time with? Always remember this. Look, your greatest successes will come through other people. Again, that might be a post-it note for your computer, or maybe it's the screensaver for your phone, but your greatest successes will come through other people. But most people are just busy telling themselves, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, right? Again, absolutely shockingly horrific advice spoken by a person not really going anywhere, almost as bad as we need to get everybody in this company on the same page, right? Something I've talked about in the past. But Road Dogg, a little bit, I don't know, man, you want to create your best year yet, break it down into quarters, and thinking about just social interactions is a real and tangible needle mover. So there you go, Shoots. What do you think?
Speaking of needles, pretty judgy there, man. To talk about the bodybuilders putting a needle in their ass as you put one in your arm. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. And by the way, genius. Fit food in, take food out. Brilliant. Like, there it is. The fridge. Man, my shopping will never, ever be the same. That is sure.
Bezos is going to listen in, man. He's going to be impressed by that one, Shoots. I didn't think how really good that was when I said it.
Gordon Ramsay's going to be just as impressed. Like, it's just, he's like, I wonder why I couldn't fit more food in my fridge. Question: how long have you had your new mentor?
Well, I have had him officially for a very short period of time, like a couple months, but I have been back and forth. I'll tell you, I chased this guy for a solid, strategically, for over 12 months to get him to accept me as a what are we going to call it, mentee. So there you go.
Is that related to the fact you mentioned 5s and 0s? Is that related to the fact that you're turning 60?
You wish, Shoots. You wish. Although I will be 50 in the not too distant future, Shoots. So there you go, bud. Damn.
There you go. Anyways, mentor, mentee, Bill Gates. I thought it was Jeffrey Epstein that was his mentor. Anyways, just newly released. Hey, I remember that you asked about measuring your mental toughness, and you said how you handle the conversation when a client wants to cancel. Right, that's a good measurement, is what you said. Is there a way to measure who and what you need, sort of personally? Like, is
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I agree. Yeah, we talked about that. So mental strength, like, you can measure so much in this world. It's a hard one to measure. And I just kind of said that when a coaching client goes to counsel, what do? Do you cower? Do you get pissed off? Do you punch the wall? Do you avoid the conversation? Do you just not reply? And that will be a good measurement of your self-esteem and clearly, or your mental toughness. And what should you be doing? Look, when they cancel, who loses? You or them? The position you always do more for others than you do for yourself. So I encourage you to go into a place of, no, this guy is in his own way. He can't see the future. He doesn't know what's coming, and really step up into that. So yeah, nice question. So measuring personality, I'd recommend everyone does a personality test. When I say that, I'm not talking about, most people will think Myers-Briggs, right? But it's old school. It's got dinosaur crap on it, quite frankly. It kind of, it hasn't been updated in, a decade or so. By doing a test like this, I think you can better understand like where you're weak and where you're strong, right? So a lot of people don't even know if they're an extrovert or an introvert, right? They don't know if they're auditory or visual, right? So rather than guessing and going with your gut, which gut stands for gave up thinking in my world, do a test, right? They've come a long way. And it can really be, I think, a really powerful needle mover for you. So like Ray Dalio, he's got one, Principles U, I believe it's called. There's the dark triad. Hexaco is the one that I am personally most familiar with. Of course, there's the old school one, like Myers-Briggs, which is fine. It's a better than nothing, that's for sure. But so why do a personality test? I always talk about establishing your little red arrow. You are here, right? Like, again, if you're at a national park or a ski hill you've never been to, you look for the big map, and the most important part of that map is always the little red arrow. You are here, right? So know what drives you. A major reason you need a positive force to move the needle rather than just a negative one when trauma is the only thing that moves you, right? So you got to get moved by positive, not just by trauma. Like, when do most people really start loving their spouse? When they feel like they're about to lose them, right? We've all seen the guy, whose wife packs her bag and leaves, or kicks him into the basement and then into the apartment. He's complaining about her 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden he's a puddle and he can't live without her, right? So again, be careful that that's not you. Find a positive force that can replace trauma to get you to move. And again, a person or a group of people will generally be the answer. Like, again, social interactions. I want you to think of that. Like we created a business with business coaches. We've got over 900 successful business coaches, and they all motivate and push one another, right? So part of doing the personality test is to help you, keeping shitty people out of your life as much as bringing positive people in, right? You want people going somewhere, ideally in the same direction as you, by the way. Just some people are going somewhere, but in a totally different direction. So understand it, right? You should have no room in your life for negative people that are sucking the life out of you for an extended period of time, right? Some people just, they go through a funk and then you're there, right? But, the people leading you towards excess drinking, and maybe it's drugs, if that's your stick, control that activity at the highest level. It's just a murder of your dreams, aspirations, and future health. If you line up 100 people that are experiencing unhappiness, I don't want to say depression, so I'm just going to say unhappiness, you will find that a solid 80%, if not 90% plus, alcohol is involved. So again, this is the kind of thing that you should be controlling. And does that mean that you never drink alcohol and you never touch it? That's not for me to say or do. And by the way, Road Dogg and I get together weekly to have a couple beers, right? But we're not drinking 24 and slobbering all over one another, right? Like we have a couple beers and we start talking about business. We talk about the podcast. We talk about cool stuff that we learned this week. He's talking about, Facebook hacks, and I'm talking about wealth hacks. And then we're, oh, wow, what about this? Like our ideas are, having sex with one another, and we're having great conversation, right? So like, here's an idea for you. Get your friends or those closest to you to take a Hexaco personality test, right? And by the way, when you ask them, some are going to say no. My opinion is that is a red flag, because that's someone who doesn't want to be measured, right? And A-grade players in this world love to be measured, right? The best hockey players love to be measured. The best swimmers love to be measured. The best football players love to be measured. The best CEOs love to be measured. The Olympics wouldn't exist without measurement, nor would any other sport, right? Well, create those measurements as much as you can. In business, I often talk about creating a like a scoreboard for your company, right? Create a scoreboard for your lead generation. But then actually, one of the most powerful things you can do is have a scoreboard for your lead generation and write a 0, right? Believe me, that will motivate you at a very, very high level. So, but like, and the Hex, if you're wondering, okay, so the Hexaco test, right? So basically it's an acronym. Looks a little like, okay, so if I were to break down that acronym, H for the Hexaco stands for honesty and humility. This section, like it's broken up into 4. Like I think all of the sections are broken up into 4, but like honesty and humility is, what is it? Sincerity, greed, avoidance, fairness, and modesty, I think it is. So like a person who's going to score well in the H, honesty and humility, is kind of going to be modest and unassuming versus sly and deceitful. Think of it that way, right? And then the E in Hexaco is emotionality. This is like, be careful of highly anxious people. It kind of tests for psychopathic kind of tendencies, this emotionality, but like there's fearfulness, anxiety, sentimentality, and dependence. So I want you to think of somebody who's anxious over somebody who's brave. So somebody who's brave is going to rank higher in this area than somebody who's, on edge all the time. And then the X is, extroversion. That's it. And again, broken up into a few different areas like liveliness, social self-esteem, social boldness, and I can't remember the social ability. That's it. Social ability. So extroversion. Like this is somebody who's outgoing or extroverted versus somebody who's shy and then introverted, right? And by the way, it's not ranking higher or lower. You be highly introverted and highly successful and the perfect match for you and the perfect business partner and the perfect whatever it is that you're looking for in your social interactions. But at the end of the day, you're going to know, right? Was it Hex? So A is agreeableness. I got to tell you, you want to have friends in your life who are agreeable. And I don't mean agreeable as in like a yes man, right? Like that's really lame. I mean agreeable in that, oh, wow, that sounds, going for a hike. Oh, wow, that sounds like fun. Oh, going to the local bar and having a couple of beers. Oh, gee, that sounds like fun. Going to the gym and working out. Oh, that sounds like fun. Going for a walk, going for a jog, going for a run, taking up a new sport, taking up a new activity, going skiing on Saturday. That sounds like fun. I think that those are the types of people, because I don't believe that a business person should only have business people around them. In fact, I think that that's a mistake. It's like, you just don't want to, just surround yourself with everybody who's exactly the same, right? That's not, I don't think, a recipe for magic. But then, so that agreeableness, what is there? There's forgiveness, gentleness, patience, and flexibility. I want you to think of somebody who's peaceful versus somebody who's ill-tempered, right? So again, that's agreeableness. But I think this is a very important one for your own, kind of social circles. It's like when somebody wants to be an elite athlete, right? Let's say you want to be a great basketball player. Should you only play basketball? And I don't think that that's the case. I think you should play. There's so much you could learn from playing baseball, playing hockey, from playing other sports that will improve your ability to play your chosen sport. In fact, that's proven many times over. At some stage, you should absolutely specialize. But for young kids who want to be elite at a sport, they should be exposed to all kinds of sports. And they will actually, by not playing hockey for 6 months of the year, when you come back to play hockey, in a lot of the times you'll actually be better at it. So anyway, so that's, should you, my point there is, should you just hang out with entrepreneurs? Again, I think you should spread yourself around a little bit. So so the C is conscientiousness, right? This one here, the C, this is most correlated with business success by a long way. We've actually talked about this on a previous podcast at length, which you might want to check out. But I got to say, understanding this and how it relates to you and business success and those around you and business success. And by the way, also, whenever I'm speaking to you, I'm also speaking through you for your business coaching clients. This is the needle mover up. If you were going to leave all of them aside and go to one, and you wanted to be rich, wealthy, and successful in business, this is where you'd spend a lot of time. And the 4 here, organization, diligence, perfectionism, and prudence. And again, so just think of somebody who's disciplined versus somebody who's sloppy, right? So that would be, and again, very breaking that down a lot. It's significantly more, I don't know, like it goes a heck of a lot deeper than that. But anyway, so that's it. And then the O is openness to new experiences. So to think of somebody who's creative versus somebody who's unimaginative, right? So this is kind of artistic type people, like aesthetic appreciation is one of them. So again, just that have that friend who's like highly artistic. They can sing and they can paint and they're just magic at it. They're often very broke, by the way. Not for there's a bunch of reasons that art is not, art is very, if you hit it, you hit it. Like how many broke singers do you know? And then how many rich singers do you know? It's kind of when you hit it, you really hit it, but very few hit it. So it's kind of a funny one, art. But anyways, inquisitiveness, unconventionality, the unconventional. And what's the other one? There's another one I can't think of it. But just think of created versus unimaginative, right? But understanding where you rank on all of that. So that's Hexaco, and there's other ones. Again, it's like Myers-Briggs, but I want you to think of the 2021 version as opposed to the 1980s version. And that's being a little bit harsh, by the way. And no doubt there's some Myers-Briggs folks listening, right? And I think it's just, look, you go do them both, and then you tell me which one is better for you. So I think that for the little red arrow, you are here. I think it's very powerful, but also remember social interaction. You've only got so much for like your room and your fridge. You want to move some people out and move some people in. Well, don't move people out and then move the same types of people or worse people in. I think like make sure that your social interactions are dynamic, moving in the right direction, and that you are improving in the areas that you need to be improving as a business person, as a wife, as a husband, as a child, what have you. So I don't know. I think that that's a pretty powerful thing. You need to be more open and creative and imaginative because you're, a little too regimented. Well, get around some people that are really open and creative and imaginative. Those artistic type. If you feel like you need to be more conscientious, and there is a chance if you really want to move the needle business-wise and wealth-wise, look, you want to find, some successful business coaches doing cool things, moving the needle for the industry, get around them and their clients, right? So, and by the way, sometimes you need to pay in order to get into those circles, to get into those masterminds, to get into those conversations. Like on the inside of kind of a quote unquote industry, we refer to it as paying for access, right? Just always like, the mentor that I chased around for 12 months, right? Believe me, I'm paying him, right? So that's no mistaking about that. And by the way, happily I wouldn't have done it any other way, right? Like, so anyway, so thinking about that, so that's it, Road Dog. I think, I hope that's helpful, but I think that doing a personality test would be powerful for those listening. Again, there's a number of them, Dark Triad, Ray Dalio's got one, Hexaco. There's the old school Myers-Briggs. I don't call it old school. I don't know. Again, I wouldn't just do a couple. How long is it going to take? It doesn't take a long time. In one day you could punch them all out and get scores in each and get a feel for what they all say. So there you go, Road Dog. That's my answer, man. What do you think?
So circles, masterminds, more people. So am I getting a bigger fridge? Like what's happening? Like, because you brought the fridge thing up again, so I'm like, you're obviously hooked on it.
Need a huge fridge, shoot.
Dude,
But
like,
it's about being, but really deliberate with where you're spending your time throughout the day, right? Like again, look, you and I, we talk about this all the time, right? Like what you could accomplish in 10 hours by waking up in the morning, meditating, going to the gym, getting oxygen running through your body, instead of sitting there hiding behind the computer, staring at the phone and experiencing pain, get on the phone with your clients, get on the phone with the right kind of people that you should be moving with. And actually, that's a really good point. Like, what kind of clients are you taking on, right? Like, again, there's nothing easier in the world than taking a successful person and making them more successful versus take somebody who's unsuccessful and trying to make them successful. Think about the difference there. What kind of clients are you choosing, but also which ones are choosing you and which ones are you accessing, right? Like, take on some kick-ass clients and your life becomes significantly easier, significantly. So there you go.
By the way, I hate to burst your bubble, but extroversion doesn't start with X. Like, this isn't like...
Hey, I didn't make the test, man. I didn't make the test.
I'm just throwing it out there, bud. Like, it's pretty crazy. Like, no one's blown a hole in this yet. Anyway, so what do you think? The number one reason that coaches don't have clients, is it A, because they're no good at generating leads, or is it B, that they're just no good at coaching?
Combo. Look, I said earlier, wealth hack is acquiring new skills. Why the heck do I work so hard and do all this for the coaching industry where I'm paid by 1%, 2%, 3% of the entire industry, right? Like a little over, 900 active business coaches in total. Look, if I translate that, why do I work for the entire pie versus just look after my slice? Look, we talked about art, right? There's lots of actors in Hollywood, very few getting paid well, right? So why do so many struggle getting acting gigs and surviving? Like, what are they starving? The truth is they aren't that damn good, right? Their strategy consists of attending more auditions rather than advancing their acting skills, like as though that's going to solve their real problem. The reality is, if you want to be an actor because they think it's cool, or they think they're going to get grossly overpaid if they finally crack it because they're so handsome or good looking, right? Look, I end every one of my daily emails with this. Like, they aren't obsessed with nailing the role. They aren't obsessed with their craft. They aren't obsessed with acquiring new skills, right? Like when fellow Canadian, by the way, but Jim Carrey, loved the guy. He played Andy Kaufman in The Man of Moon, which I just think that's an amazing. If you haven't seen that movie, I just love that movie on so many levels. And it's not funny. I'm more of a funny movie kind of guy. Like when I watch a movie, I like to just drown out, and I'm very happy to shave off a couple IQ points, right? To just sit and laugh and, think about nothing, so to speak. But that movie, which is not a comedy, like he stayed in character for the duration of filming, right? The guy doing the $800 commercial or the gal doing the $800 commercial just isn't doing that, right? And they're not interested in doing it either. I get too many parties to attend and too many social, functions with drugs and alcohol or whatever to participate in or attend, or however you word that, right? And there's plenty of business coaches. The truth, many aren't that good, and they're not obsessed. Every day, like clockwork, I get an email that says, can you help me generate small business leads to get new coaching clients, or some variation of? And the answer is a definitive yes. Quite frankly, it's easy, right? But can you, or more to the point, are you willing to keep the client, and positively change their life disproportionately to the coaching fees that they're paying you, right? I remember in 2005 riding around in the passenger seat of a realtor's car to intimately understand the role and the best helper to, take her up, 12 notches and accomplish her wildest financial, quote unquote, we'll call it realtor dreams and more. Plus she was pretty cute. And I figured, what the hell, right? There might have been some fringe benefits coming my way. But look, remember, it cost 22, and this was a long time ago, by the way, long time ago. But anyway, remember, it cost 22 times as much to get a new coaching client as it does to acquire a new one, right? Do you need to eat some humble pie and start doing some training, right? Like my company and the software is basically acting school for business coaches, right? Like, are you staying up? Okay, so acquiring new skills, understanding trends, right? the last 25 years, as an example, right? What are the needle movers that we've really experienced? So I can tell you, look, number one is globalization, right? Like Facebook, global. Uber and all signs of, Uber and Airbnb, they're all over the world because they're apps. And also, and related and magically, Uber's like the largest taxi company now, but they don't own any cars, right? Facebook is the most powerful, popular media company in the world, and they create no content, right? Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, they don't own any real estate, right? I remember when I built I built a $5.5 million coaching company. We used to do $400,000 a month in new small business coaching clients. This is way back in 2005. We operated pretty much in 2 countries, right? Everything I do now is online or in the cloud, and we operate in 24 countries. That would have been 100 times as hard to do back in 2005, right? So the needle movers, globalization, digitization. Think of the way Uber digitized taxi, right? It used to be done over the phone, right? Amazon digitized book sales, right? You used to go to the bookstore to, Chapters or Borders to get books. CRM digitized direct mail, I'd say, maybe in a lot of ways, maybe a great example, maybe a bad example, but presumably get the idea. Zoom is currently, creating a digitized version of the boardroom. So think digitization, right? Which the two, globalization and digitization, by the way, kind of go hand in hand. But this is the big current one, and I think a lot of people are missing it entirely, and that's dispersion, right? Dispersion is the age that we're in now. I spent a lot of time with my mentor. You mentioned earlier, a Road Dog, speaking about this, recently, and what it really means, or maybe what it could mean, right? So dispersion, I want you to think of it as the act of distribution. So when you really think about the internet, a good way to think about the internet is it is the middleman. So back in the day, you would buy a retail t-shirt, and there would be like the manufacturer, there would be the middleman, the wholesaler, and then there would be the retailer who would sell to the end consumer. Well, now the middlemen are getting weeded out, and they're going directly, manufacturer going directly to consumer, or maybe, in some cases it's basically they're going straight to consumer, right? So the internet cuts out that middleman, and what it also does is frees up a lot of margin, right? The best way to build a big and successful business with you and your clients is to have great margins. Like, that's what a lot of people don't understand about business coaching and why it's such an unbelievable career. You make 80% margins. You charge your client $2,000 a month, and like 1,700 of it, or whatever the number is, but like 80% of it stays with you, right? Why is Apple so successful? Louis Vuitton so successful? Rolex, Ferrari? They play with luxury margins. They got massive margins, right? So the middleman creates the ability to create luxury margins where there might not have been, quote unquote, luxury margins, where you don't need to, charge $1,000 for a handbag, right? Like dispersion. Think of music has been taken away from the Virgins of the world and the record stores, right? And it's been given directly to the consumer on their phone. So you can now buy 2 songs that you actually want to listen to, rather than the entire album where there was like 8 songs you wanted no part of, right? Movies have been taken away from the movie theaters and given to the consumers. You can now, you can watch movies in your home, but what's new is that you can now watch new releases in your home. Do you think that's going to accelerate, or do you think that's going to stop? I guarantee it's going to accelerate, right? Like we talked about on a podcast not long ago, Road Dog, Coming to America too, right? Which I think is that's kind of movie. I want to, my IQ went down a couple points, and I loved every minute of it. I laughed. I love Eddie Murphy, whatever. But it was literally released into your home, right? And you paid a bloody premium. I can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't cheap. But I didn't have to go to the theater. That has positive and negative consequences, by the way. Think second, third, fourth order consequences. A little bit off topic, but highly related. Remember, social interactions is a big needle mover. But when you start watching all the movies at home and you don't go to the movie theater, and more to the point, your kids get their movies at home and don't go to the movie theater, socially, I'm not necessarily, that's a negative as far as I'm concerned, but topic for another day, right? just that dispersion. Write that word down. Very powerful, right? A lot of wealth will be created in and around dispersion, and those that can, create ways to distribute at a higher level, like health and fitness. An example, if you have a Peloton at home, that is dispersion in the health and wellness industry, right? Where you no longer need to go to the gym and you can literally jump on your Peloton and race against people in all different countries around the world, right? So it's given, power has been given to the consumer to a large degree. You can apply for a car or a house loan, through an app on your phone and get, either instant approval or very close to. You get your insurance online, right? Your doctor's appointments. The pandemic has accelerated so much of this stuff, specifically telemedicine, right? If you've had a doctor's appointment in the last 12 months, it started on the phone. That would have never happened 18 months ago. It didn't happen. It could have, but it didn't, right? Imagine it just gives you a lot more control. It's actually an opportunity for the pharmaceutical industry, which I believe Amazon will be entering at some stage, but topic for another day. Look, the list is endless, but I'm describing distribution in a more powerful way. And I think, like Coca-Cola is so successful because of distribution, right? Like if you have a new drink and Coca-Cola takes it on, your numbers are going to fly through the roof immediately because people just need to, the Coke driver's already going. He just needs to pack an extra, pack of 6 or 12 or 24 with the delivery that's already happened. So Coca-Cola, if you wonder why is it so successful, it's distribution. Why is Amazon so successful? Distribution. So I think that you should be helping your clients think through distribution, but disrupting it through dispersion is kind of the overarching thought there. If I'm a business coach and I'm working with clients, and that's a high level, I'm talking about Uber, but I want you to be thinking you can always dummy this stuff down for your local businesses. So like an example, if you have a restaurant and they don't have a food truck to complement the restaurant, I think that is a missed opportunity. Okay, and the food truck is a different way of distributing their existing menu and line items, right? Like if you have a restaurant and you're not spending some time on takeout and delivery, and maybe delivery involves drivers, humans are the enemy of scale. So this is something you want to think through with your business coach, with your client. But at the end of the day, takeout for sure, delivery. But okay, hang on. I just said delivery a minute ago, and the way that I was describing it was like delivery that you phone for the pizza and it has to be there in 30 minutes versus a delivery that I would be more in favor of is buying prepackaged meals from the restaurant, frozen, packaged, and then delivered on Sunday at some stage, not, in a 30-minute window, and it has to be hot. This is a more powerful way to think about distribution. So hopefully that helps. You can always dummy. So I'm talking about Uber and Airbnb. You always dummy this stuff down, but these are things that people know. There's things you know. There's things you know. There's things you know. There's things you know you don't know, and things you don't know you don't know. I try to connect things that you know with something that you don't know, so you can kind of create a parallel. So always dummying this stuff down. So Road Dog, that's the answer though. The bottom line is, what do I think? I think that the average coach is not spending enough time. Like over the week, like we just had the weekend, I would have spent easily 5 hours, possibly 10, and maybe a little bit more. But let's go in the middle, 7.5 hours educating myself over the weekend, right? And doing it. Why? Because I'm obsessed. Like I love what I do. But what do I do? We've said this before, right? But I take my daughter to the park, and then she's got all her buddies. So like this weekend, I take 6 girls who I take regularly. I take them down to the park. I look after them, and I'm listening to audio, video. Like I'm listening. In some cases, I'm watching my phone a little bit, but I'm there pushing the girls on the swings and having a good time. So I'm kind of, it's net time, no extra time, right? So the girls are all running around, and I'm pushing them on swings, but I'm listening to some stuff that I want to be listening to, educating myself. So forget me, all right? Is the business coach listening? Are you doing that on the weekend over the last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending upon when you're listening to this? Did you spend time educating yourself like Jim Carrey was obsessed with being the best actor possible? And that's why he can do Ace Ventura and Liar Liar and then do Man on the Moon, which is no comedy whatsoever, just like a crazy, like this needed a real actor. And again, and he went into parts for like 3 months, like for the entire duration of filming, he was Andy Kaufman, kind of wild. So there you go, Road Dogg. That's my answer, man, is I think that there's a balance there. I'm not picking up the phone, but I think that, look, in closing, Road Dogg, here it is. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Grab a pen and a piece of paper and then write down how are you going to help the business? So let's just use a restaurant as an example. And if you Google my name, Karl Bryan restaurant case study, you're going to see 2 days, I think it's day 8 and day 9 of emails when I originally started my One Thing series. And you'll see 50, 75 ways that I would help a local business and bar, right? So you can see an example. So grab a pen and paper, write down 50 ways that you're going to help X, a mortgage broker, a realtor, chiropractor, dentist, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, right? Write it down. You will be so excited the following day to reach out, to phone, email, message, ask for a referral for that category of business. Let's say you wrote down 50 ways to help a mortgage broker. You won't be able to contain yourself. You can't wait to make that phone call, right? So that's what I would, there's a level of confidence. If you introduce me to a business coach with a lack of leads, I'll introduce you to a business coach with a lack of confidence. So that's it, Road Dogg. That's my answer, Shoots. What do you think?
Well, the beauty of also listening to an audiobook when you're watching the kids is you don't have to hear them cry when they fall. So there's that.
That happened on the weekend. I got in trouble. One of the kids fell off the swing set. And I'm like, I had to get my earbuds out and attend to them.
You're just pissed because it's like you interrupted in a really good part of the story. And by the way, for the record, 1,500 is the answer you're looking for. 80% of 2,000. I'm not sure how you pass math, but there you are. Not that complicated, Shoots. All right. I'm not even going to go for overtime, folks. So I'm just going to tell you the one thing that you can do today to implement your business is, as Karl said, before you make a call, pick a theme maybe for the day. If I'm going to call restaurants today, but sit down, make a list of 50 things of 50 ways that you can help them, and just call 3 people and just see where that goes. So, so there's that. So that's it. I'm getting the last word today. So there you are, Shoots. Again, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man on top of the hill, my boy King Karl. And again, if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or just want more information how to build your coaching company to 6 figures and beyond, visit focused.com and subscribe today. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with a fellow coach or someone you think might make a great coach. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate if you'd rate this episode, as we know that iTunes and Spotify give an insane amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard. And that is it for another week, folks. We will talk to you in the next episode. And remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.